Hi there, my name's Chef Robert Sevely. Welcome to Flavor of Riverside. Today we're going to be doing homemade corn tortillas, and we're going to be doing them in a bunch of different ways. We're going to make empanadas, we're going to make sopes, we're going to make tacos, and so let's just dive right in. So what we have is we have masa flour, or some sort of corn flour. So this is interesting stuff. I chose, through doing a bunch of research and working with guys and being in a restaurant that cooks tortillas every single day, we found that the tamale flour is better than the regular maseca flour in the white bags. The reason for this is it's a little coarser grind. That's the only difference. It's just the way that it's ground. Think of the difference between polenta and cornmeal. Let me explain how the masa is made for a minute. So they actually take corn and they dry it out, very similar to like how you would see popcorn. And it's off the husk. Then what they do is they soak it in lye. Lye is one of the essential ingredients to like cement and stuff. And it's actually bizarrely poisonous to us. Now remember, this recipe goes back thousands of years, all the way to the Mayan, they believe, is the ones that created tortillas and tamales and stuff like that originally, even though it's found all over North and South America. So it's soaked in lye, and that does something to the protein. It actually makes it to where when they cook the protein, when they cook the corn, it creates it into a uncooked style protein. So it's bizarre, it's different. There's some definite science between it. So once they're soaked in lye, then they're thoroughly rinsed. Now they're ground, and it's ground into this like paste. Then from there, they turn it into powder and they dry it out. And so that's essentially how we get to this product here. So now, when I was talking about how it's basically like an uncooked protein, so to speak, is when we go to cook it, it will bind together. If it didn't have that, it would just fall apart. We would need gluten in order to get it to stick together. So do realize this, all corn tortillas are a gluten-free product. There is no wheat flour in this. This is purely corn. And of course, all the lye has been removed, okay? Okay, so now what we're basically gonna do is the ingredients that we need to make our homemade corn tortillas is we need the masa, we need warm water, and essentially that's it. From there, we're gonna add salt, and we're gonna add a little bit of chili. So for the chili, these are arbol chilies. They're very similar to, say, like a Tabasco chili or something along that. They have about the heat of them of like cayenne, maybe not quite as hot, but they're still a really hot chili. So they're called arbol. So what I did is I took the stems off, left the seeds in them, and then I ground them in like a spice grinder or a coffee grinder. So that's here. So what I'm gonna do to my masa is I'll end up adding some of this. Then we have salt, and I always use kosher salt, and so that's fine. We're just trying to make the tortillas taste really good. All right, so then I have a mixer. Now you can do this all by hand, but the key is the consistency between the flour and the water. If it's off, if you have too much water, it's too pasty, you're not gonna be able to press it. If it's too dry, they're just not gonna really cook and they're not gonna come out correctly. So we're gonna work on our ratio once we get it into the mixer. The other thing that's essential is our tortilla press. And so we have this tortilla press. You can get these at just about any like Mexican market or anything like that. They make wood ones also that are very good. They're usually square. And so there's lots of different ones. They're cheap. You know, you can find them out there or even buy one online. All right, so let's get going on our masa here. So I'm going to take my mixer. And I'm going to start off with 2 cups of the masa flour. 2 big cups of the masa flour. Okay. Really, this is eyeballed, so to speak. We're going to add the water till we get the right consistency. And the reason for that too is we don't know how much moisture the masa actually has in it. Flour can be somewhat of the same way. So depending on, say I live in Florida where it's very humid, or I live in Palm Springs where it's very dry, the masa from the store will have a different consistency. And we're looking for that perfect consistency. So I'm going to set this up here. All right, from here, we're going to add our arbol chili. And really, I'm looking for just enough. I added about that much. I'm looking for just enough to where I get flex through it. And I'll get just a very small hint of heat. If you don't want to do this, you can always use cayenne, or you can omit it completely. Then I'm going to do some salt, okay? And that was right about a half a teaspoon or a half a tablespoon of salt. All right, so close this down. And then I'm going to get it mixing. I'm using my paddle attachment. And then I take my warm water and I'm just going to start adding it. And I'm watching it starting to clump up a little bit. It'll actually start to look like pie dough, okay? And it's starting to come together more and more here. All right, I'm going to let that come together. Now remember, we're not trying to knead it. We're not trying to develop gluten. You don't have to worry about really over mixing this or anything like that either. And so once it's mixed, I'm going to shut it off. I'm going to get in and feel it, okay? So it's pretty soft, you can see. I'm going to actually add a little bit of more flour. I may have gone a little heavy with the water, which is fine too. So I can get my adjustments. You can see how it's kind of sticking to me, but it's a little bit too much. See, when I spread it, it's still spreading over the top of me. Quite a lot. So I'm going to add a little bit of flour. I'm going to turn it on again. Let's crank it up. Make sure it's good and mixed. All right, let's check it now. All right, this is feeling better. All right, so main thing is not too dry. And this is something that you get a feel for. See, I was told by a friend of mine that works for me that makes tortillas every single day. He said that it takes some time to try to figure it out. But once you get it and you practice at it enough, you'll get it perfect every single time. And so I think this looks pretty good. So let's give it a try. All right, so let me pop this up. We get rid of the paddle attachment. We can just leave the bowl there. Now the other thing that will happen too is if you're making a lot of these, you got to be careful and make sure they don't dry out. So like wrapping this with saran wrap, you don't want to put like a wet towel over the top of it or anything like that, but wrapping it with saran wrap, and just so it keeps the air out and it doesn't start really drying out on top, okay? All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out my scale. And you can use a digital scale and stuff. I've just had some tough luck with digital scales here lately to where they're either not working correctly or they're breaking. So back to the old school spring scale, okay? What we're doing is we're doing 1 ounce balls, all right? So I'll grab a little dish here. I'll get rid of my arbol and stuff like that. And I'm just gonna make some 1 ounce balls here, and I'll kind of point that towards the camera there. And you can be rather kind of quickly about this. You can see there's 1. There's 2. 3. 1 more, let's do 4. Okay, so there's another one. So now that I have the balls weighed out, I'm gonna just form those. And this is exactly what you would do. So if you need to make, like say, you got 25 people coming over and you know that they want 2 tacos a piece. And so you got to make 50 tortillas. You're going to weigh out all your balls first. And then you're going to go through them and you're going to smooth them out, just like in the meatball size, okay, or meatball smoothness, so to speak. So you do that, and then you got your tortilla press, okay? Now, the most important thing with the tortilla press, along with it, is going to be circles of plastic. Now, this is really easily done. I just take a Ziploc bag and I cut out the circles. Really simple, okay? So that's what I have here. So then the other thing, as I'm pressing, I'm going to be putting them onto the grill. And so they call it like a comal or a grill or something like that, or a griddle. And if you have one of those inlay griddles in your stove, that would be great. You could utilize that. Or you could use a grill pan if it has the smooth griddle sides. You could use a cast iron skillet, which would be fine. The main thing is it kind of needs to be seasoned, just like this one is. It can't just be a raw piece of metal, because all the tortillas will actually stick to it. And so it needs to be something that you're cooking with on a regular basis, that somewhat regular basis, that is seasoned. Then it's all about temperature. So we really want it, it depends on your stove, but I have it as low as this stove will go. So it's a kind of, it cooks quickly, but it can't be too hot. You can see I can hold my hand over the top. It's probably sitting at about 250 degrees. Somewhere in there is where I want it. All right, so now let's press some tortillas. So I'm gonna open this up. I'm gonna lay my plastic in. My first ball, I'm gonna kind of go a little bit more towards the back. Second piece of plastic over the top. Lay this down. And I'm not trying to press really hard. I don't want it to come squirting out the sides. But there we have our first pressed tortilla. And you can see it looks delicious. It has a little flecks of the arbol in there and everything. So then we're gonna open up the plastic and you can see it pulls off of there very, very nicely. And then we're gonna set it on the grill. All right, so then we're gonna take another ball of our tortilla and another piece of, same piece of plastic over the top. We're gonna give it a press. Just making sure that we're never pressing so hard that we're squirting it out the sides, but yet we still want it nice and thin. So as these are cooking, I just kind of keep going. The bigger the griddle space that you have, the more you can do at one time. At a certain time here, though, I'm going to have to check that very first one that I laid down. Doing right about 4 at a time is probably a pretty good measure. So you can see those all came out really nicely. Then I need a spatula. So just any sort of like small spatula. And I'm going to come over here. I'm going to give my first one a flip. And I can always flip it back, okay? So we just sort of let these cook. And if your grill is on the low side, you can always turn it up a little bit. I think mine are perfect. You can probably see the steam on the camera that's coming off of these tortillas. And then I can tell that they're cooking because it's slightly changing color. You just get these guys cooked. So as these are cooking, I can go back to my masa, I can keep pressing, I can keep being ready, and I just sort of rattle out tortillas here. So as you're gonna store these, how you're gonna do it is I went ahead and I made some earlier, and I'm just gonna stack them as they're even still warm, and I'm gonna wrap them in saran wrap, and I can store them in the fridge, I can freeze them, or I can leave them at room temperature for up to like 48 hours, like 2 days, and they'll be fine. Because remember, all it is the corn flour and water, essentially, okay? So back to cooking. Now remember, if it's too hot, you might have to waste a couple of these. If it's too hot and they start browning, really all you're doing at that point is making tostadas. They become very pliable. I would say this very first one's finished. And you can see here that I can pick it up just like a taco. All right, so that is tortilla making. Please try this at home. It's a lot of fun. They're really, really tasty. The kids love them. Like I said, you can make quesadillas, you can make enchiladas, and we're gonna do several different recipes with these today. So we'll see you in a few minutes, and we'll keep going and keep cooking with tortillas. All right, welcome back. Now we're gonna take this masa tortilla dough and we're gonna turn it into empanadas. There are so many different types of empanadas. On the internet, you can find all different types of recipes. This is more of a traditional Mexican empanada. So, I mean, I'm talking Brazil has their own type of empanada. Chile has their own type of empanada. All the different South American countries, as well as like Cuba and some of the islands and stuff, all have their own type of empanadas. And some of them use anywhere from like a wheat flour dough, like something similar to a pizza dough, to what we're doing today. So today we're doing the masa, and we have the balls just like what we did earlier, but we're gonna make short rib empanadas. So here's our short rib, and it's been shredded. So obviously, like, I cooked this ahead of time. I took short rib, raw. I seared it off into a pan. I added bay leaves and onions, and I cooked it for about 3 hours in the oven until I could bring it out and it could fall or shred apart. So we're just looking at shredded beef. Just the short rib has the right amount of fat content to where it's gonna stay really tasty. Remember, fat is flavor. So if it's too lean of a cut of meat, then that's exactly what you're gonna have, and it's actually gonna taste dried out, even though you cooked it and braised it in liquid. All right, so then we take our short rib, and then we're gonna take a little bit of cheese. This happens to be Jack cheese. We could do queso fresco, we could do Kobe cheese, you could do cheddar. I mean, there's a million different ones. And we want probably right about a third or so of how much, or maybe half of how much beef there is. And so just like so. And then I'm gonna add a little touch of cilantro. And now this has already been seasoned. So the meat was seasoned before it was cooked, and the cheese is salty. So it's all good to go. So we don't need to add salt or pepper to anything. And we're just gonna mix this together. And this becomes our filling. So at this point, we're gonna get our hands involved and we're gonna mix this in and just make sure it's thoroughly mixed. Okay, so now from here, what we start doing is we start making these empanadas. And this is the great thing about these, is that when I make these at work, we can make them ahead of time, even 24 hours in advance. I want them to sit on parchment paper, and then after they're made, I want to cover them with saran wrap. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using our tortilla press, okay? Here, we'll keep this up here. You can see here, that we have the tortilla balls again, okay? And then, of course, we have the short rib, and I'm gonna set this all down around my cutting board so you can see what's going on. And then we have our pieces of plastic, okay, as well. So we're gonna just take one of our balls, other piece of plastic on top, slightly flatten it out. We're going to press it, open it up, move it to the side. Then we're going to take a little bit of our filling, and I mean a little bit. Okay, go right into the center, and then we're bringing our tortilla up and pressing it to the sides, pulling this back. And there we have our empanada, okay? Just like so. You can see here, it's nice and sealed. It's supposed to look on the rustic side, okay? And so these are gonna go right into the fryer, is what we're gonna do. So I've already made a couple of them. Why don't we go ahead and do one more? Okay, so I have my press. I have my 2 pieces of plastic. We're gonna lay one piece of plastic down here and take one of our masa balls, that into the center and slightly smash it. Put our plastic over the top, press the tortilla, get rid of the press, take off one of the pieces of plastic here, grab a little bit of our filling, go into the center, and then we're going to bring it up with the plastic, meeting the edges here, tamping it down as we go, making sure all the filling stays inside. The way across. And then there we have our empanada. Okay, you can see, looks beautiful. It needs, you want it to look rustic, okay? And so these are now gonna go directly into the deep fryer. And I've already made a few of these. You can see here, I got 4. So we're gonna clean ourselves up a little bit here, set this stuff aside. Then I'm gonna bring over another bowl and some paper towels, okay? I have my fryer going, okay? And I want my oil, you can see here I'm doing it in a Dutch oven. I only have the oil coming up right about like 1/3 of the way or something like that. And then I have a spider, so I really need to be prepared. I know my temperature on my oil's hot, my oil's in the pot. I have a bowl with paper towels for everything to go into. I have my spider to remove them, and then I have my empanadas. I'm ready to go. I'm not gonna drop something into the fryer and then go scrambling for everything else that I need, okay? So here we go. All right, so we're gonna let these fry and let these keep going. And we're gonna keep everything nice and close so when they're done, we can get them out safely. We can turn them over as we need to. Okay, so we're just gonna keep an eye on our empanadas as they're frying. They're gonna take a little bit. While we're doing that, we're gonna create a salsa. Just a really simple salsa fresca. We have tomatoes, we have limes, we have jalapenos, cilantro, and diced onion. So really we're just gonna mix these all together. So in goes our onion, our jalapeno, a little bit of our cilantro, some lime, a little bit of salt, Then just mix this together. And so now we have our pico de gallo. All right, so now I made my salsa fresca or pico de gallo. I'm gonna set that aside. Let's get our empanadas out of the fryer. So I can tell they're done because they've kind of gone from that opaque state to this like golden brown. And so these are ready to come out. I have my paper towels here that's gonna catch any the leftover grease, okay? And I did have one open up on me. So you can see this one here has fully opened up. And so, I mean, you could toss it in the trash or maybe, you know, you eat it yourself or whatever you want to do with it, right? All right, so then we just sort of blot these. We hit these with a little bit of salt, just like you would tortilla chips or anything like that. And then we want to go ahead and we want to plate these up and make these look really pretty. So I'm going to bring out a plate here. And I have a few sauces that I made last night. So I have a ranchero sauce, just your basic ranchero sauce. I have a salsa verde, a green sauce, and I have a chipotle crema, which is basically just sour cream and canned chipotle. It's really, really good. And then we have our salsa fresca or pico de gallo. So then we're going to take these and basically I'm going to build my plate from one side to the other, just like so. And then really simply, to make it just look delicious, I can take my sauces and go across the top, go in a different direction with the green. Okay. I don't know if it needs the crema. Go like down the center with the pico de gallo. And then just for contrast of color, I have a little bit of queso fresco here. And so I'll just go with a tiny bit of that right over the top. So here you can see we have short rib empanadas with ranchero sauce and salsa verde, pico de gallo, and queso fresca. Really tasty. Can't wait to get into these. All right, we'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, so we're back. So now what we're going to do with the masa is we're going to make what are called sopes. Sopes basically means like little dish, all right? And so we're going to use the same size masa ball, the 1 ounce masa ball that we've been using all day. And what we're going to do is how I like to do it is I just take it and I just start pressing. And I just form like a pocket. If it cracks, you can usually like push it back together. But the thinner you get it, in my opinion, the more tasty it will be, but it can't be too thin. And make sure that the hole on the bottom, and then I want a flat side. That's why I do it that way, so I have a nice flat side. And these are like 1-biters, so I can make them like the size of like a small tostada even. You can buy these in the store, but in my opinion, there's nothing better than making them like this and making them fresh. And so I'll make a couple of these so you see what I'm doing. And I'm just spinning and I'm pressing with my index finger and my thumb. And I just sort of keep working it out. And the rough edges are going to make it taste crispier and nicer. So now what I'm going to do is I have my oil at 350 degrees again, and no hotter than 400. I'm going to drop these in. Be careful, and we don't want them to float like a boat. So I'm going to stick them in like so they get oil all the way around, being really careful. And then here again, I have a bowl, and you can see I've already made some, all right? And I have a bowl with paper towels, I have my spider, I have everything else, and I'm ready to go on this. So I'll just set this aside over here with my spider. They take a while, just like the empanadas did. They take a while to do. It's not like wheat flour. This stuff takes a while to fry, so just keep that in mind. Okay, so now we're going to do our filling. So I can do these with numerous things for the sopes. I'm going to do a chicken filling, and then I have the ranchero sauce that I'm using. This is one that I made at home, and feel free to use a canned product or a store-bought product. There's lots of good brands out there. Mine is thicker, so depending on what brand you get, you might have to thicken it. So that's done. And then the chicken, you know, my wife's pregnant with our first child. It's going to be a little girl. I'm very proud. But everything's been organic in our house lately. And so this is an organic chicken, one of the whole roasted chickens. I just brought it home. I let it cool off, and I picked it. Okay? But like I said, the fillings, you can do all different types of fillings. We can do the short rib filling. We could do like a mushroom and corn filling if you want to go vegan or something like that too. Okay? So all I did was I already heated this up. I just mixed the two together and heated it up in a pan till it's nice and piping hot since everything's already cooked, okay? So that's ready to go. Let's check our sopes. So I'm gonna get my bowl here. These are definitely done. My oil's probably a little bit hot, but they're gonna be absolutely delicious. And so you can see they're ready to go. I'm gonna season my sopes a little bit of salt. And then I have them, they're set, so we're ready to pretty much start building. I want to do some of my garnishes now, and I just have some fun ones. So this is a little bit of a play on the whole pickled carrot, you know, the Mexican pickled carrot. So you can buy jarred ones, but I made my own pickled jalapenos last night. I sliced them on a mandolin. And I sliced the onion, and I used apple cider vinegar, a little bit of water, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of salt. I brought the vinegar and water mixture to a boil along with the salt and sugar, and then I poured them over the top of the jalapenos, and then you just let them pickle. They're delicious. It really tones the heat down on them too. And so that's that part. And then for the carrots, what I have is I have a spiralizer. And so that's what this guy is. I have carrots that I peeled, and I'm going to take them, I'm going to stick them into this one end. These are fairly inexpensive and a lot of fun. I can make all kinds of different things on this. I can use zucchini, I can use fennel, I can use beets or some sort of turnip, any sort of hard vegetable. So now I'm going to take it, and you can see the front here just spirals it out. Really cool. And this is going to make a really cool look sitting on top of our sopes. All right, I'll go all the way. And it's easy to clean, dishwasher safe, all that sort of stuff. So it's just something fun to possibly invest in. Set that aside. Now I have my carrots here. I'm gonna throw that into a bowl. I'm gonna add a little bit of lime, Okay. Now, if I pickled these like I did the jalapenos, they're going to get really limp. We want them looking really crispy. I'm going to add a touch of salt, a little bit of cilantro, okay, on top. And then I always hit it with a little bit of my pickling liquid from my jalapenos. I'll just toss this together. So that's looking awesome. So now let's go ahead and let's build these sopes. All right, so set this stuff all aside. Let me clean myself up a minute. All right, so now I have a plate. Okay, I have my plate. I get my sopes out, and I always like building these on the cutting board first so I don't mess the plate up. So I'll take chicken, place a little bit of chicken in the center of each one. Just like so. All right, then I'm going to take my jalapenos, place like one or two on top of here with a little bit of the onion, right? Then from there, I'm going to take my carrots, make sure they're mixed well. I'm going to turn them into a little nest. I'm going to set them right on top. Just like that. Okay, so now we're going to bring my plate out. I think only 3 of them are going to fit on here. So I'm just going to do 3 dollops. And I'm going to place one on each dollop, just like so. And then maybe just a tiny bit of cilantro right on top. And then from there are your sopes with your chicken and ranchero, or chicken tinga you can call it, with your pickled carrots and pickled jalapenos. All right, we'll see you right back here in a second. Now we're doing fish tacos. So for the fish, I have mahi-mahi, which is a great fish. You can do so many different fishes, anywhere from halibut to even tuna if you wanted to, cod, all different types. So I prefer like a white fish, so mahi-mahi works out perfect. You can see they're in nice thick pieces. These are about 1 ounce pieces that I cut. So I still have my oil going, and what I need to make is a beer batter. So we can grill these too. You can do them on your barbecue or something like that and make a grilled fish taco or saute them in a pan or something like that. But we're gonna fry them. So what we need first is we need flour, okay? We need some salt. And I just sort of eyeball this, some salt. I have some ancho chili powder, which is a little on the smoky side. Then we have smoked paprika, which we're also going to add, also has a smokiness to it. So those are our spices. Then we're going to add in some baking powder. And we're going to give our dried ingredients a little toss here. And then from here, we're going to add Modelo beer or any kind of preferably Mexican beer if you're making a Mexican fish battered taco, right? So we're just going to add the beer in. Make sure the beer's cold. Obviously, you want it to be foamy. This is very similar to us making like a tempura batter. All right, I want it a little thicker than that. I'm going for right about the thickness of like a pancake batter, which that's still a little bit thick. And what I'm really looking for is once I'm done, I want it to coat my finger, all right, is what I'm looking for. So from here, we're gonna start messing with our fish. So our fryer's nice and hot. I wanna have everything ready to go again. I wanna have my bowl with my paper towels in it. I wanna have my spider. I wanna have everything ready. So now I bring my fish over and I wanna season my fish. A little salt on top, okay, like so. And then I have some flour, just some regular old bench flour. I'll get rid of my whisk at this point. And I'm just gonna coat the fish in the batter, or in the flour. I'm gonna coat the fish in the flour and then just sort of set it slightly into the batter like so. So that way I'm not getting too messy all at one time. Okay, so just keep setting the fish, dredging the fish in the flour and setting it into the batter. Notice how I'm going around the outside of the bowl. All right, once I'm done with that, I can get rid of this stuff. And my hand's cleaned a little bit here. And then now I go over to my fryer. Make sure my fryer's at a good temperature. And then now I'm gonna come in here and I'm just gonna finish dredging, dunking each one of these and placing it into the deep fryer. Now the fish will cook all the way through in here, okay? But we might want to check it at some point. All right, so now those are all dropped. I'll get rid of the batter and I'll wash my hands. Okay, so what I want to do now is I kind of want to immediately get in here. I want to double check to make sure none of them are sticking to the bottom. I can get rid of my thermometer. Really need it anymore. And I just want to make sure that they get coated and cooked on all sides. So we're going to let those go. Let's do the rest of this. So the other thing that I like on top of my fish tacos is kind of like a cabbage or coleslaw. So I have shredded green and red cabbage here. It's going to look really pretty. All I did was I used a mandolin and I quartered these, holding it by the top, and I just went over the top of the mandolin just to verify that I'm getting it as thin as I possibly can. I can do this with a knife as well too, but this gets it really, really thin, okay? So once I have that, then I'm going to make a quick dressing for it. Keep an eye on my fish. Go ahead and spin them. Okay. Good, they're looking beautiful. So then make a quick dressing. I have chipotles here. Chipotles in adobo. Really important. This is a can of chipotles, okay? What's really important is when you're following recipes that if it says 1 chipotle, this is 1 chipotle, not this. You put this all the way in for 1 chipotle, it's going to be a really, really spicy sauce. So I'm mostly using the adobo sauce, okay, more so than I am the chipotles themselves. And then I'm going to hit it with a little bit of salt, like so. A little bit of smoked paprika, like so. And then I'm going to give that a mix. Now, let's check our fish again. I'm staying on top of these fish here. So they're pretty much looking done. They do not take long. And we don't want to overcook them. So I would say these are good to go. Let's get these out of here and draining onto paper towels. At this point, we could shut our oil off. And if for some reason you needed to cook these a little bit longer, you could always toss them into the oven. That would keep them crispy, and that would finish up the cooking if they're not quite cooked. But I'm certain that these are ready to go. All right, back to the chipotle crema. We're just going to bring this together and give this a quick mix. All right. So now, take my cabbage. I'll just add a couple dollops of this. I'll mix this together. If I need to, I'll taste it. And I can always add a little bit of salt to it as well. That's looking delicious. I want to use the spoon. I'll just take a tiny bit of it. Delicious. Ready to go. So now, set that aside. Set all my other stuff aside. Then I'm going to bring forward my tortillas that we did earlier. And I have my grill hot again, so I remember I can do these way in advance. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take these, we're going to get these onto the grill, get them heating up. Just like so. Okay, set these aside. Then I'm going to pull over my plate. I love this fish plate. It's one of my favorite things here. So we have the plate, we have the fish. The other thing that we need is I really like having a little bit of avocado with my fish taco. It makes it taste really creamy and delicious. And so then I also have some chipotle crema that's in a squirt bottle as well. Okay, so let's get these hot. So just about there. Beautiful. All right, so I'm going to pull them off, place them right down the center. I'm thinking I'm going to be able to get 3. I'll pull these off so they don't overcook. All right, now I'm going to go with a little bit of crema right in the center so the fish sits right on top of that. Just like so. Then go with 1, 2, 3 pieces of fish. Then we'll go with avocado, 3 slices of avocado right over the top of that. Then we have our coleslaw that we'll put on here. And this is the Chipotle crema coleslaw. Will sit right on top. A little bit more over here. Just like so. Set this aside. Clean our hands. And that is your fish tacos. I'm going to hit them with just a little bit of cilantro right on top. You can serve this with lime or lemon if you wish. But there we have our fish tacos ready to go. Mexican street food. Looks amazing. Can't wait to eat one. All right. So we'll see you in a minute. Okay, so what better way to top off a great Mexican meal but with a great drink? Today I'm going to do horchata for you. So this is my version of horchata, and I have all the ingredients here. We're going to be putting in the rice, milk, or water, if you want to call it that. And then I actually have agave, I have vanilla, I have cinnamon. The agave is acting as our sugar. And we're just going to make this great drink. On this one here, you can see that the rice has settled onto the bottom. What I did is I took 4 cups of water and 1 cup of rice, and I put it into the blender and blended it, and then I strained it, and I got rid of the rice and then kept the liquid. So that's what this is. So I'm just going to get into here, and I'm going to give these a stir. Okay. And once I have them stirred up and everything's together, now how long these sat was overnight for me. You can do that. I would say the minimum that you should do is 3 hours, and then you strain the rice out. So water, rice, blend it, let it sit for 3 hours, if not overnight, 24 hours or so. Then stir it up and finish your horchata. Okay. So now, take these, we're going to pour these into our pitcher. So this is like 1.5 times the recipe. So that's right at about 6 cups. So then, I'm going to do milk. And this is just giving me a measurement. This is 2 cups of whole milk into the horchata. Then we're going to take our agave, and this is really how sweet do you want it. Okay, might have to pour a little bit out of there. We'll do that right away. Then I'm going to add some cinnamon, and this is right at about a teaspoon of cinnamon or so. And then vanilla. So the vanilla I would do right at about a capful, which is probably about a half a teaspoon in there. So we'll set this stuff aside. Clean myself up a second. I think I want some more agave. I want it sweet, like so. And then we're gonna get this stirred together. All right, once you got it good and stirred, it's ready to serve. The main thing is letting that rice soak overnight. That's what takes so long. Otherwise, you won't get that rice flavor. All right. So then I'll bring over 2 glasses. Pour some glasses here. I have a couple of garnishes I'll do for the top. I have on a toothpick, I have a strawberry and pineapple. Set those in. And then my wife actually loves these flamingo straws. So in goes the flamingo straws. And there you have it. A couple of glasses of horchata that will go really great with your Mexican meal. All right, so enjoy, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Discovery Days is an ongoing children's program held the third Wednesday of every month from 1 to 4:30 p.m. at Riverside's Metropolitan Museum. The program focuses on teaching kids aged 3 to 10 about different aspects of nature and science. Discovery Days features hands-on activities and crafts that engage kids in the process of discovery. And the best part, it's free. That's Discovery Days at the Riverside Metropolitan Museum. Call 951-826-5273 to find out more.
All right, everybody, this concludes our tortilla show. We made lots of great food. I want to introduce my beautiful pregnant wife, Tara Sevely. She's been just absolutely craving Mexican food these days. And so our little baby girl is obviously craving Mexican food as well. So I wanted to bring her out here and have her try some horchata. She loves horchata. Cheers. Oh, man, that's delicious. Really good. I love the agave in there. And so just to recap, we have the fish tacos, which are just absolutely delicious, nice and crispy. It has the chipotle crema. We have the sopes with the chicken and ranchero with the pickled carrots and jalapenos. And we have the empanadas with the salsa verde and the ranchero sauce with the pico de gallo over the top. Remember, those have the short rib in them. And so thanks for joining us on Flavor of Riverside. Everybody, keep cooking.